Back in October of 2024, WDWNT posted a rumor that Jellyrolls, which is a piano bar located at Disney's BoardWalk Resort, would be closing at some point in 2025. Now, if I remember correctly, they were under the impression that this was going to happen like right as we made our way into the new year, so we all rang in 2025 and Jellyrolls would close. But as we approached New Year's Eve, we hadn't heard anything. Even as we made our way into the new year, still nothing. At least not until recently. In a post made on the Jellyrolls Orlando Instagram account, they said, "After nearly 30 years on Disney's BoardWalk, Jellyrolls is making a move. Come celebrate with us into the spring season and keep your eyes on our social media for new, exciting updates." Now, before we go any further, we need to get some basics out of the way. First and foremost, we do not have any specific dates for when we can expect to see Jellyrolls close. All the information that we have, at least up until this point where I'm standing here chatting with you today, is the information that I read to you. Now, it also seems like Jellyrolls isn't going to be closing entirely. They're going to be making a move, at least again, according to that post. Now, I know that there's been a lot of speculation about this, but I did a little bit of digging and it has been confirmed that that move isn't going to be within Walt Disney World. They're going to be moving to a new location entirely. Now, for those of you who are wondering, like, what's up with that? That's simply because Jellyrolls is a third-party company. They're owned and operated by an entity that is not Disney, very similar to Cake Bake Shop or Blue Ribbon Corn Dog. So I do think that that may be why there's a little bit of confusion, thinking that they're definitely going to have to move within Disney. Definitely not. They can go anywhere because they're their own thing. Now, going back to this rumor from late last year, there is some speculation that a jazz club is going to be taking the place of Jellyrolls at the BoardWalk. There's speculation that this will open at some point in 2026, but it's yet to be confirmed. So, like with so many other things that we've been talking about here at the Walt Disney World Resort, we have the basics, but that's pretty much it. Now we wait. Now, since this rumor first surfaced, I've been getting a lot of questions. People want to know what my thoughts are. And I haven't said much because it is, of course, just a rumor, and at least in my opinion, not a particularly interesting one. I mean, just take a second and think about that whole corner of the boardwalk. It's basically on life support, It's just this and the Atlantic Dance Hall. And quite frankly, I think that the Atlantic Dance Hall's days are numbered as well, but we'll get more into that here in a second. So when I heard the rumor initially, and then eventually when it was confirmed, I was like, well, seems legit. No matter who was making the decision, whether it was a decision to move on that was made by Jellyrolls or Disney's decision that Jellyrolls ought to move on, it tracks, Of course, there were a few things about the rumor that I had my doubts about, and still do. Mainly that Jellyrolls is going to be replaced with a jazz club, but, add that to the list of things we're going to talk about here in a second. But look, Disney's BoardWalk, and Walt Disney World in general, if we're being honest, it's going through a bit of a transition. Maybe an identity crisis? You decide. It seems like the decision makers, they've either lost sight of the target or they're deciding to move the target. Quite frankly, I honestly don't know. But one way or another, I think that to deny that Walt Disney World is in a transitional period is to admit that you're not paying attention. Because there's so much going on, and so much of it is a big shift. It's not just an update or a tweak. It seems like there is something major happening. And I think that this is another indicator that that is happening, or a shift is happening in an area that maybe we didn't realize it was happening, another shift in another area, just another Tuesday for Walt Disney World. And look, just as a reminder, because I know that there are at least a few of you who are hanging out with me today who may be joining me for a conversation for the first time, I am not opposed to change. I'm actually a fan of change. I think that more often than not, it's a good thing, though there's no denying that change can require some adjustments and it can sometimes be hard to adjust. But what I don't like, and I'm sure that a lot of you would agree with me, is poorly executed change, or updates that are made, but they're not well thought out. Which, as it turns out, is something we've been seeing a lot of. here at Walt Disney World, which I think is why so many people are a bit salty, Disney fans. But anyway, focusing back in on the boardwalk. The past few years have brought a lot of changes to this resort. And, I don't even know if I like calling it a resort, because while that's true, it's also kind of like an entertainment venue. It's a whole thing, People who are staying at the resort, but also people who are just wandering through Walt Disney World often make their way to the boardwalk for the vibes, the food, whatever the case may be. So we had the Ample Hills Creamery replaced with Boardwalk Ice Cream, and then the Boardwalk Bakery was updated. Now it's the Boardwalk Deli. Boardwalk To Go was replaced with Blue Ribbon Corn Dog, so some basic stuff. Of course, some of these changes weren't so basic, they weren't so subtle. A great example of this might be Carousel Coffee, which is located in the lobby of the boardwalk. It was previously like a gift shop and sundries shop. Then there were the major transformative changes, the changes where you could really see a shift. For example, taking the ESPN Club and turning it into the Cake Bake Shop. Then there were the places that were just closed and completely abandoned. Again, in this back corner by Jellyrolls, like Big River Bar and Grill. It's just sitting there, empty. Has been, probably will be for some time now. But look, love 'em or hate 'em, many of these changes were about as close to a one-for-one swap as you could get. And that's the type of thing that you would expect from Disney or any place like it, updates, changes, refreshes, tweaks, and bringing something that will enhance the area, though not every change has enhanced the area. I think Ample Hills was a lot better than the Boardwalk ice cream shop, but, that's just me. However, there were some major shifts in target audience. Cake Bake Shop is a fantastic example of this. And at least for me, this shift in target audience has been something I've been noticing for a while. And let me know if you've been noticing it too, but it's like this poofy dressification of the Disney vacation. Like a transition away from being a vacation spot that everyone can enjoy and toward a place that's like, it looks really good on Instagram for the Disney girlies. And look, just to be clear, there's nothing wrong if that's your vibe. Right? Like, we all like different things. And I think that it's great when there are a number of things that appeal to a number of different people. But when we start to eliminate options for people who don't have that very specific aesthetic or vibe or those specific wants and needs out of their vacation destination, it not only eliminates like entire demographics of people, but at least in my opinion, it's reflected in the creativity that we see. Or to clarify my point here for a second, because I realize that might be a little bit confusing, it's reflected in how creative and well-themed the things Disney is presenting to us turn out to be. I mean, just look at the most recent addition to the boardwalk, the Cake Bake Shop. How many times have you heard people say, it's beautiful, but it doesn't quite fit here. It would be a better fit for the Grand Floridian. I mean, I can't disagree. This is, after all, the boardwalk that we're talking about. And I think that the ESPN Club was a much better fit aesthetically, with the vibe, but it's not really about that anymore. At least it doesn't seem to be about that anymore at Walt Disney World. It's not so much about a good fit. It's about a good pick. Carousel Coffee was kind of another great example of this, where they put pictures of Disneyland in there, which didn't quite make sense, but I digress. And I mean, even though it's still unconfirmed, a jazz club would be a similar thing, right? Like, we have jazz clubs here at Walt Disney World already, at resorts where it makes sense to have a jazz club. But anyway, on top of all of that, I know I'm on a little bit of a tangent today, but I think that this is just another step toward putting the final nail in the coffin on 21 plus experiences here at Walt Disney World. So Jellyrolls was a 21 plus experience, or it still is, it hasn't closed yet. But Disney's been eliminating those all around the resort over the past however many years. We used to have Pleasure Island, that's gone. Now we have Jellyrolls and the Atlantic Dance Hall. I mean, those both have their days numbered, at least in my opinion. We know that Jellyrolls is on its way out, but Atlantic Dance Hall is going to be just hanging out there all by its lonesome, And this has me wondering, if this is going to be just another step in finally closing that chapter, the official end of an era when it comes to 21 plus things here at Walt Disney World. And yeah, I know there are a lot of you who are going to be like, why is that necessary? Because more people visit Walt Disney World than just children, like families visit. Sometimes families have aunts, uncles, older kids who want to have a nightclub experience. You know, like people have different interests. It's such a confusing thing to me when people don't understand that. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit disappointing. I also think it's a little bit disappointing that the nightlife aspect of being at Walt Disney World is turning into solely a drink around the world at Epcot type of thing. I've got a lot of opinions on that too, but I've been rambling for quite a bit. Anyway, that's kind of my thoughts. My thoughts are, I'm not surprised to see that Jellyrolls is on its way out. We don't know what the future for Jellyrolls Orlando is, but you know, if we find out anything, we'll let you know. I would be very surprised if we don't see this corner of BoardWalk just remain empty for a long time. I know that there is some speculation that it will be transformed into something else by the time 2026 rolls around, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Honestly, I think that it's probably just going to go the way of Big River Bar and Grill and sit there, because why not? And you know, maybe there's something in the future for that corner of BoardWalk that's in the works. At this time, we don't know yet, but there's also a lot of areas that just remain abandoned, so maybe that's a possibility too. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts, so let me know what they are in a comment down below. Let me know if Jellyrolls is a place that you have visited. Do you enjoy it? Are you sad to see it go? I'm really looking forward to hearing what all of you guys have to say, because I mean, it's been around for such a long time, so I'm sure that there are a lot of great memories to share. So go ahead and share them. But for now, I'm off. Thanks so much for hanging out. I hope you have a fantastic day wherever it is you are, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye.